Welcome on back to the Wolverine TV. Clayton Sayfie here with EJ Holland, who has been on the road over the last week. That will continue really throughout the rest of the football season here, so stay tuned at thewolverine.com for full coverage of Michigan football recruiting. But EJ, you had your vacation, a couple days a year that you take off. Boom, right back on the road. You were in Merrillville, Indiana to start, and then we'll talk about your trip out west in just a second. But three-star defensive tackle Kenneth Grant. He's a mammoth. You can see him on the screen there. He's huge. Probably should be a four-star and probably will be at some point here in this cycle because of, he's pretty underrated at this point. What did you see out of him? We'll start with the mammoth Kenneth Grant here.
Yeah, I was really, really excited to see Kenneth. They were playing in a rivalry game against Maryville Andrean, which features Rivals 100 2023 prospect Drake Bowen. As soon as I got off the plane from Europe, I drove straight over there. I really didn't want to miss his season opener. And Grant did get off to a slow start, and then he really, really turned it up, and he did not disappoint at all. This is my fifth or sixth time seeing Grant live. I saw him at a couple of practices and workouts throughout the off season. And I mean, he is just such an impressive looking prospect. He's all of 6'5", 6'6", 340 pounds. He moves really, really well for his size. He's a guy that is the prototypical fit at nose in Mike McDonald's 3-4 defensive scheme. I would even say that Grant has a better body right now than fellow top target Dion Walker, and even moves a little better. I think there were some clips where some of the Fort members noticed that Grant was standing up a little high. That's because he's going both ways. He's also playing offensive guard, and you're going to get tired at 340 pounds going both ways. But he served up some pancakes on the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, he was getting a ton of pressure on the quarterback from the interior of the defensive line. He had a couple of big stops. He had two blocked punts, including one for a touchdown. So he was just an animal all night long. And I really do think he's one of the most underrated recruits in the country. I think he's a clear four-star, top 250 player in the country as well. And it's not hard to see why Mike McDonald has made him a top overall priority. I mean, we're talking about a guy who this is one of the top three must lands of this cycle, at least the way those on the Michigan side view it. And I definitely agree with them. As far as his recruitment, I think Michigan's in a really good spot. He just wants to see, stability and wins to start off the season. Ohio State is right up there as well. But I think Michigan has made him more of a priority and for longer. Wisconsin, Nebraska, some others still in the mix. But Michigan has a prime opportunity to close with Grant if they, have the success on the field that everybody wants to see.
Yeah, going to be so important. Feels like it's a huge factor for just about every kid that we've talked about really this summer, this offseason, because recruiting is one thing, and Michigan's done a decent job of recruiting, but actually the play on the field is the actual product. Let's talk about a guy who is a four-star, Lander Barton, four-star outside linebacker out of Salt Lake City, which has kind of taken us chronologically on your journey there, heading out west to Salt Lake City, a great airport that they have out there. What were your thoughts on Lander Barton? This is a guy that Jim Harbaugh went out personally to see at a satellite camp this summer. Kind of a under-the-radar type of trip, but definitely wanted to show face and show him that he's a priority.
Yeah, I mean, Jim Harbaugh was scheduled to speak at the satellite camp in Nashville and instead called an audible and quickly replaced himself with Josh Gaddis as the speaker and flew out to Salt Lake City specifically to see Lander Barton. He is also a top overall priority on the board. Michigan has been making him a guy they've wanted for a long time. On the recruiting front, before we get into the game stuff, he is a guy that they view as just a multiple backer, a guy that can play inside or outside in this 3-4 scheme. They really feel like he's a perfect fit for it. Um, Michigan's, I would say, probably tied for second right now with Texas, which is also making a hard push. It seems like Michigan and Texas have had a lot of similar linebacker battles, with both losing those linebacker battles. So they are really both turning up the heat with Lander Barton even more than they already were. But the team to beat in this recruitment is Utah. Utah is not only close to home, but there are a lot of family ties here. His father played baseball at Utah. His mother played volleyball and basketball, I believe, at Utah. Both of his older brothers played football at Utah and are now at the NFL. And one of his uncles played football at Utah as well. So a lot of Utah ties, basically the entire family going to Utah. So Michigan's going to have to not only convince him to not only convince him with stability and wins to start off the season, but also convince him to leave home, to create his own legacy, to not follow in his family footsteps and be different. So that's going to have to be a primary selling point for Lander Barton. I think it's an uphill battle, but like I said, Michigan probably tied for second, which isn't too bad heading into the season. And the good thing is, Utah's not USC or Oregon. It's not a premier program. So I feel like Michigan has an opportunity to really make that pitch, and maybe with some wins on the field, they're able to turn the tide of that recruitment. As far as him on the field this weekend, his team lost pretty bad, and the team they played against, Syracuse High, basically ran away from him. So Brighton, his team, used him as more of an edge rusher uh, type guy, but they basically just ran in the opposite direction on every play. He did, look good moving around in pass coverage. He got a couple of quarterback hurries. I would say the performance was underwhelming, but at the same time, there just weren't a lot of opportunities for him. He's a big, intimidating prospect. He's at about 6'3", 6'4", with a lot of room to add some weight. He's a long prospect. And like I said, Michigan sees him as a versatile guy that can play any of the linebacker spots in this scheme.
Sticking with Utah, let's talk about Cody Hagan, a 3-star wide receiver pictured there. What did you see out of him, and where does Michigan stand?
Love Cody Hagan. Was really impressed with him this weekend. He really, really caught my attention with the way he performed on the field. And yeah, I was so disappointed because the game, so as you saw in Lander Barton's photo, it was really sunny to start off the day in Utah. And then there was a torrential downpour. We had a lightning delay. So the rain really, one, affected the game plan, but also Corner Canyon got up 21-0 in the first quarter. So the game plan changed there. Coupled with the rain, I mean, it made for a really run heavy game. So most of Hagen's opportunities came early in the game, and he definitely took advantage of them. He picked up 10 yards on a little jet sweep to kick things off. He turned a small drag into a 35-yard gain to set up a touchdown. He had about a 20-yard touchdown where he just ran straight vertical. And that was basically the gist of his night, because he only got one quarter of play for how things went. But just from that one quarter, you could see the explosiveness and the speed. This is a guy that runs a 10.53 100 meter. Josh Gaddis values speed. Cody Hagan brings plenty of it. But on top of that, his ability to kind of shake and bake in the open field and make things happen once he has the ball in his hands, that's the speed and space aspect. So he uses the speed he has in space really well. This isn't a guy like Roman Wilson who flies vertically, or a guy like AJ Henning who's built like a running back. This is a true 6'1", 170 slender receiver that has the straight line speed, that has the wiggle in space, that you can use on jet sweeps, that you can use in the backfield, kind of a Swiss Army knife of sorts, but also a true receiver that runs really, really great routes, a natural pass catcher, strong hands, a lot of great things to say about Hagan. So while he can play that, Swiss Army knife role as well in this offense, he is a typical receiver as well. He's not just a guy that you're going to move all around. He can be absolutely lethal out of the slot with the flexibility to move around. He's only a 3-star prospect. I would grade him as a 4. I think there might be some question marks about how he can hold up physically. He does need to add some weight and some strength, but I mean, he's a dynamite type of kid. He's tailor made for this type of offense. And so right now, Michigan joined the party a little late. They just offered a few weeks ago, but Hagan, who released a top four, has now made it a top five with Michigan and is looking to make an official visit in the fall.
Is he deceptively fast?
He's not deceptively fast. He's definitely fast.
Let's stick with his same team, his teammate, three-star outside linebacker, Harrison Taggart. What did you see out of him? Probably had a better opportunity to shine maybe in those last three quarters of the game because as a, probably, I don't know if he plays both sides, but it's primarily a defensive guy and, you're there to watch him play defense. Could be a good opportunity for him even if it was kind of a weather game.
Yeah, so Harrison Taggart's a really, really intriguing prospect. So right now he does not have a Michigan offer, but he is on the board. They are closely evaluating him and seeing how he does this season. And if his first game was any indication, then I feel like Michigan should jump in the mix. Their inside linebacker board has kind of dwindled down, losing on guys like Joshua Burnham, Sebastian Cheeks, Jeremy Patton, etc. And so it's not like there are a lot of great guys on the inside linebacker board right now. Harrison Taggart fits that mold. He's a guy that will need to add some weight, but has the frame to do it. He is a great run stopper. I mean, 15 tackles on the night, 6 tackles for loss in a really run heavy field game, but still he was ultra productive. Both him and Hagan, ultra productive. I mean, I think Taggart averages more than 10 tackles per game, and Cody Hagan scored a touchdown in 15 straight games. So both really, really good high school players from a top program in the country, Corner Canyon, consistently a top 25 program nationally. Taggart also runs a 10-7 100 meter. He's on the relay team with Hagan. So to run 10-7 as a linebacker, I think is extremely impressive. He covers a lot of ground. He moves well in space. So I think this is a guy that Michigan should definitely offer. But like I said, they want to evaluate him a little more as the season progresses.
Last guy on the list here, Sayala Asera. I could be saying that wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. A four-star inside linebacker in the class of 2023. Big kid at 6'3", 260. What did you see out of him, and did I pronounce his name right?
I don't know if you pronounce his name right. I asked him, how do you pronounce your name? And he was like, it's just Sayala Asera. And I was like, what did you even say? But I think it's Sayala Asera. So hopefully Sayele can correct us again. But anyway, Sayele was a great kid. He was super excited that I came all the way up from the Midwest to catch some games in Utah. Really just an awesome kid getting to talk to him on the sideline. So he's ranked as the number 33 overall prospect in the country in 2023. So this is a big time guy and a top priority for Michigan early on. The reason I got to talk to him on the sideline and after the game and why he's just wearing a white shirt is he missed the game with a shoulder injury, unfortunately. So I didn't get to see him. But just sizing him up, I mean, he is a really big kid at 6'3", 260 pounds. When you're that big and you're a 2023, my only concern is, do you completely outgrow the linebacker spot and just spin down? It'll be interesting to see how his frame develops on film. He's super productive. He's physical. He's everything you want in an inside linebacker. He also won the linebacker MVP at one of the rivals West Coast camps, I believe. So he moved really well in a camp setting as well. So, I mean, he is a really, really intriguing prospect. Like I said, it's just going to depend on how kind of his body shapes up and where he projects at the next level. But obviously, super talented, being ranked as a top 50 national recruit. As far as his tie to Michigan, so Sean Nua, Michigan's defensive line coach, actually played with Asera's father in high school, and they've kept in contact for a long time, even before Nua was recruiting Asera. So they kind of view each other as family. And Asera said he's definitely looking forward to getting up to Michigan for a game this fall.
Yeah, those West Coast connections for Sean Nua. So yeah, we're saying that name right there, Sayala Asera. He is our final guy here on the list. So a busy, last week for you, EJ. And then we'll have full coverage as the football season rolls on at thewolverine.com. People can join us over there using the promo code BLUE60. Michigan high school football opening up this weekend. We'll be out at some games, so we will have a ton of content up from that. So stay tuned and check us out at thewolverine.com.